Welcome to the introductory episode of Insert Name here. A group of 4 friends who are gathering around to sit and read an individual comic and or graphic novel every month and discuss it with one another. It's essentially a comic book club. Possible name.
Comic Book Club Podcast.
Yeah, the Comic Book Club Podcast. I'd also wanted to try to name it after something I kind of modeled this after, which is the Comic Book Roundtable, but I couldn't come up with an easy enough acronym. But
we're sitting around in chairs.
Yeah, the Comic Book
but
Round
no
chairs.
table. We're sitting around a microphone.
Yeah. But we are all comic book readers of different knowledge experiences and knowledge bases, each coming from a different background and enjoyment in comics, but we figured we'd get together and read different graphic novels and discuss it based off of our personal preferences and ideologies and whatnot. For the first book, we decided to go with I Killed Giants by Joe Kelly and J.M.K. Niimura, because why not start things off with the most heartbreaking book probably ever written. What did you guys think of the book before I talk about it? Because it is my copy of the book we used.
I'll brag about it.
Yeah, because I have all the books.
I don't know, when Fred gave it to me, he was like, read this. No background. He just gave me a black and white comic book on New Year's Eve.
John,
He told me to read it.
John, we're doing a podcast. Read this book.
And I was like, okay. I looked through it. I was like, there's no color. Not a fan.
But the best comic is black and white. Walking Dead is black and white, John.
But, and I don't know why. Fred kept bugging me about it. And finally, I just, sat down. Decided to read it one day. Don't know why. I sat down, started to read it, and then I couldn't put it down. And then it was kind of traveling around the house with me. Whenever I had downtime, I was, reading it. And I finished it in like a day, which is not very often for me because I don't read a whole lot. But it got me hooked right away. I liked the whole, oh, she's kind of into D&D, and she's their DM. And then, there's this deeper thing, they don't explain till the very end with, whatever's calling her name. And I really liked it. I can't really get deep into it. I don't read a lot of comics. I think I'm pretty low on the expertise here, but I did enjoy it. The art style I was actually a fan of.
Yeah, I do like black and white, comic style a lot, and I loved the kind of sketchy, not super detailed look that this book had. I also absolutely love the story. Speaking of, I should probably mention that we are going to be talking spoilers about the book.
Definitely.
So,
and this podcast will probably be different from all the other ones, seeing how we kind of just gathered around in a basement with beers and cookies and decided we were going to record.
And no plan whatsoever.
No plan.
Thanks for the plan, Fred.
Yeah, no problem.
But I absolutely love the story. I mean, just to kind of jump to it, I read the book in about an hour before leaving the house and finished with a little bit of Kleenex up to my eyes.
Yeah, when I first read it, I ordered it off Amazon thinking that it was going to be a book, especially with the way the cover was, because it's the, I think this is the 10th anniversary edition.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah.
Yeah, was it? No, it might not be. I don't know, because all the quotes on the back are from 2011. But it might have just been a reprint. But they were, I was super hyped to get a book about a girl that kills giants. I sat down, started reading it, started out disappointed by how the book was going, because I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. I read it twice the day I got it, because I was that hooked and that emotionally distraught over it the first time, that my mom was like, did you already finish it? I'm like, yeah, again.
I don't think there's ever been... The only thing I can think of that I started reading it so quickly after finishing it was Peter Panzerfaust. And that was because I was stuck in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. Possible future episode.
So, and, without a cell phone with internet, you get real bored sitting in the sun. So I read Peter Panzerfaust 3 times.
Yeah.
See, I, on the other hand, the title completely threw me off. I was like, what are you guys making me read? Yeah. Especially when it started with all D&D stuff. Oh.
But you're such a big fan of, Stranger Things, and that entire show is premised on D&D.
I don't know.
Which is great.
Yeah. But no, so to get people caught up who are listening on the story, it's about a girl named Barbara who lives in this oceanside town
On Long Island, I think.
Possibly Long Island.
I think it's. I remember they mention it later after
Yeah.
the big event.
Which is like possibly where we live, possibly not, according to certain individuals. But and she's kind of the loner type. She has a small group of friends that she plays D&D with. She's very tomboyish, and she believes in like the arcane and mystic arts,
And she's got a hammer.
and she has a magic hammer, and she believes she's destined to go around and kill giants. She goes to school, she gets made fun of, she gets bullied, she goes home. She's seemingly raised by her older sister, who does her best to be both sister and mother to her, and also kind of encourage her to live up to her her overzealous imagination, but also tries to rein it in at the same time. It's a very realistic family dynamic in some ways. Like, it's not an experience I've ever had, but like
You've never killed giants?
I've never killed giants, nor have I been raised by the older sibling that I do not have. So, but I can see, like, they kind of, I don't want to say slice of life, but they tried to ground it in, like, just the most normal setting possible for a book about a girl who kills giants. Like, I don't want to say it took the Buffy route, but, like, it took a Buffy route to it. Up until the end of the book, and you find out what is actually going on. Which...
Right. So I guess just to kind of jump into that, the big giant that she's trying to conquer is her mother dying of cancer.
Yeah. Or at least...
Is it cancer? Does it specify that? It's been about a month since I read it.
I think it's cancer. At the point in time, it was... She just had it.
Yep.
But at the end of the book, her mother does pass of it, which was a big thing. The giant for Barbara in the entirety of the book is death, which is something that... I don't remember her exact age. I know she's like preteen, is kind of a foreign concept. I remember myself having it be a foreign concept at first. So it's definitely very... I don't want to say it's a tragic book, but it's not a book you want to read to enjoy yourself.
Right. Like, it ends as optimistic a way as such a story can, with the lesson learned from it. You have something to say.
Being someone who, has lost parents, it's 100% accurate. The emotions it captures are just completely true.
So, sorry.
Sorry. Trying to run away from everything, and yeah.
So it was fun watching you guys react to this. Like, we didn't sit in a group and read it. I gave the book to Tom. Tom passed it off to Amanda. They funneled it to John, and then I recently got it back to record the podcast.
You just got it back.
I'm
like
playing with it.
5 minutes before we started.
I'm playing with it because I missed it, even though it's been sitting in a box for a year. But we have a group messenger chat, and after everybody finished reading the book, they contacted me independently, and it was pretty much across the board. Why did you make me read this? I feel awful. But, like, everybody was smiling at the end of it. Like, I could tell that they were, like, both hurt and overjoyed at the same time. It's like every good Hallmark Channel movie or something like that, except it's actually, like...
It has giants in it.
It's digestible, which is nice. It's not... It is equally cliche and, like, a fresh take on the book.
It's also, like, relatable, because I mean, I don't want to speak for everybody here, but I think we've all known somebody or have had people in our family who have had cancer, and it's like, unfortunately, it is a very, it's not always terminal, but it is something that's not always easy to beat. And my grandfather died of cancer in, like, 2005, and, I was 11 at the time. It is a very hard thing to... like, understand when you're 11. Like, they sit you down and like, oh, it's cancer, my grandfather was like 70, 80 at the time, and it's just like, I remember just not wanting to be around, like, distancing myself from it, and that's something that Barbara does in the book. I wasn't so much as distancing myself as she was, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people can understand the emotions she's experiencing.
Right.
And, like, what she's going through and why she wants to avoid it. Because no one wants to face that head on.
And different people will, like you said, not wanting to face it head on, she projects it in the form of these giants that she has to conquer with her magic hammer, very, Thor style with the Thorson last name.
Yeah.
And that's her kind of mythology and what she chooses to believe in as her way of defining the world and getting her through this awful hand that she's been dealt.
Yeah.
And over the course of the book, you can see that she puts on this brave face and she tries to tell everybody she's okay, which is something that everybody's done. But she's not just dealing with the fact that she's losing her mother. She's bullied at school. She thinks she makes a friend for the first time, like a real, honest-to-God friend, and everything constantly goes wrong in her life. And the part that I greatly enjoyed was watching her finally stick up for herself, watching her like make this friend, lose this friend, get this friend back into her life. Like, we've been focusing on we should be focusing on the loss of her mother, but like, this girl's life is just not kosher in any way possible, and like, the fact that she comes out at the end of it a better person because of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very dark coming of age story,
Yeah.
almost.
And
It still hits all of those same general kind of coming of age story beats that you would get when you watch or read 90% of media, like in that vein, but
almost like they would make a coming of age movie about this book.
Whoa.
This just in.
I did it. I dropped the bomb early.
Wait a minute.
They're
Is
making
there
a
a
movie.
movie coming out this year?
Yeah, that I didn't know about until we decided to do this.
Yeah, it was almost like perfect timing because Fred was like, "Oh, read I Kill Giants," and then the next day it was on YouTube, and I was in the trailer section. It was like I Kill Giants. I was like, "Hey."
And then John messages me. He's like, "You seen this trailer?" I'm like, "No." I'm also at work, so I can't watch it. I hate you.
It doesn't stop me.
You know my phone can't watch
Yeah,
trailers.
that's true.
You have a beautiful phone.
Yeah, I'm not phone shaming, but So have you guys seen the trailer?
Yes.
No.
Not with sound. I was at work, like I said.
So wait, then what was I doing? Because I wasn't at work.
Well, I mean, I saw it. I didn't watch it.
Oh,
I
okay.
watched it at work in the dairy cooler.
That's fine. Okay. So I
I don't know how I feel about the trailer, just because, like I said, the art style here is very
Specific.
minimalistic, and it's very specific. It really draws your attention to the things that you
It reminds
want to
me
be
of,
looking at, and not to anything else. Like, you could get the just Barbara with no backdrop whatsoever because you're honing in just on her. You could get a very detailed giant because all of her attention is focused on that. You could get, like, the walls are just empty because there's nothing there because you're just in her head, in her emotional space. And that's something that I don't think the movie is going to, like, just from the look of the trailer, is going to be able to really capture, because it's just very much, it looks like a lot of kind of small-scale indie movies shot in a few locations like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's also, the book does take place in a small town. There are only 2 or 3 central locations: her house, the beach,
The
the school, small spaces in between. Just a note for those listening who haven't read the book or seen anything: the book's very Scott Pilgrim-ish, I want to say.
See, now I haven't read Scott Pilgrim.
I haven't either.
read
I've seen the covers though,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Yeah, it has a very influenced by, like, Japanese
Yeah.
manga style without actually fully committing to the style.
It reminds me of, like, Gorillaz, the band. How
Yeah,
they're-
yeah. No,
how
I can
they're-
agree with that completely.
like, that's what it reminded me of instantly.
yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the artist either did the Gorillaz art or drew direct inspiration, because in some frames, like, they have those sharp pointed teeth that they have in Gorillaz, and even, like, the face, like, the way faces are drawn and the way people look, like...
It's very like early 2000s, like crossing of the media between American comics and manga.
Mhm.
Like the up and coming, like pre my generation of anime watcher, manga readers, like the people that were kind of the forerunners for me of getting into those genres. I think you guys pointing out the fact that it's black and white, kind of, and then like varying degrees of gray in between.
With the black and white, too, it really helps, like I said, where, a lot of times there is no backdrop and it's just pulling your attention in. The same thing with the black and white really helps you, so you're not looking at this extended color palette and you're just honed in on exactly what, the one detailed part of each frame is that it wants you to focus your attention on.
But I just like, I'm trying to think of like from a thematic angle, having just solid like black and white.
Yep.
Like it kind of like everybody's always like, oh, it's not black and white. It's not black and white. Like the coloring in this book kind of almost makes it that way. Like there either is giants or there aren't giants.
Yeah.
It is one thing or it like this book kind of deals with absolutes only because of like the fact that the giants represent death.
Yeah.
And death is the ultimate absolute.
And it's funny because it
Outside
is
of
these
taxes?
absolutes, but it's treated, but it's treated in such an abstract
Yeah.
way. Because I mean, who in their day-to-day life is like, this person is dying, I'm gonna go slaughter a giant.
Right.
So it is this. It is like you said. It's treated in this absolute way that just feels so at home in the comic
Yeah.
medium, but it's very abstract in that regard because that's not how anyone actually sees the world, but it feels at home in these pages. And that's something, again, just to go back to the movie for a second, it would take a lot of interesting, like, stylizing visually to capture that on film. I almost feel like the film would have been better off animated.
Just looking at the trailer right now, it reminds me of Where the Wild Things Are. The children's book that they made into a movie a couple years back that just missed the mark.
I didn't see the movie mainly because, like, the book as a kid kind of freaked me out. I don't know why.
I also missed the movie mainly
Cause
based off a degree of not caring.
Yeah, like I didn't think it'd be like if they made a movie about the very hungry caterpillar. Like, how interesting could that?
I
honestly
mean,
be?
I would be there day one for that.
They
one.
did do that. They called it the human centipede. But
That caterpillar was hungry.
Oh.
actually, just speaking off of Where the Wild Things Are, the last time I got excited for that book was the book Descender that Image is putting out. There's a Where the Wild Things Are reference cover, and it's amazing. And it's Dustin Nguyen doing his watercolor art.
Dustin to win.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
John, you're so excited.
He's a great artist. Okay, you'll if I give you Descender, you'll like his shit.
Sure, whatever you say.
Also, but the black and white coloring also kind of helps highlight the emotions. Like it evokes the emotions you're supposed to feel. It's a very dour book, so
Yeah.
a lot of the blacks and the grays really help. The whites, as a juxtaposition to those dark colors, really helps. Also, the fact that it's drawn in such a childish, cartoony way really helps coming from her point of view, because like there are scenes where she's happy, where like it's kind of that, oh, everything's pretty, and like her imagination runs wild, and there's like fairies and like these cute little critters and stuff running around, and then as soon as her depression hits, it's giant monsters and these creepy things and like hollows from Bleach walking around, which is what I now reference everything to.
I liked the way. I honestly loved the way the giants looked when I had heard there were giants in the book.
You mean when you read the title?
Yeah, when I read the title, I don't know what I was expecting. As I was expecting, like, typical fairy tale, tall, like, just big humans with maybe like some weird features, or like Titans from Attack on Titan.
Yeah. Predating that book, by the way.
I loved the way they're like animalistic, but at the same time humanoid. They have a very like terror-inducing, like, as an adult you look at it, it's like it's perfect. Like,
And
the
fact
Titan
that
too
they
is just like oof.
have that humanoid look to them is incredibly
Yeah.
important too, because of what they're
Yeah, what they're
standing in
symbolizing.
for.
Yeah.
I mean, but we've talked about the fact that the giants are symbolic of death, in like the Grim Reaper sense, coming for a mom, because there's the panel that I just looked at where it goes, "You're not going to take my mom."
Yeah.
Same point in time, especially us living on the East Coast, we deal with this a lot. There's a hurricane about to hit her town at one point, and that's the big giant she fights at the end.
Well, she doesn't even know about the hurricane. It just kind of
Yeah.
like, hey, it's here.
But I mean, as a kid, I remember going camping and like we got nailed by hurricanes, and I didn't know they were coming because I was a kid and didn't watch the weather.
Yeah.
So like, but like the fact that this massive storm comes, and you don't see her mom throughout the entire book, so you don't know if she's like this emaciated husk of a human being laying in bed.
Yeah.
But when you do see her, you realize that she looks perfectly normal, which is also like the other scary part about cancer is like you can't tell somebody has it until they have it.
And that's the thing too, that, I mean, it's cancer here, but it could stand in for so many other,
Yeah.
as I'm sure some people can attest to.
The entire point of the show is just to make Amanda feel as bad as
Yep.
possible.
Clearly, but he doesn't realize that it just bounces all off. I'm so used to it.
It's also why we brought alcohol. But no, but like the storm hitting is also like it comes in the wake of the giant, and like she goes missing during the storm because she's off fighting the giant on the beach, which is like
Yeah. She pretty much plays on the fucking beach because it's 10 feet
Yeah.
from her front steps. Lucky her.
Yeah, and she's also like either currently kicking the shit out of or having the shit kicked out of her by the local bully, who turns around and is worried about her well-being after she gets swept out into the ocean. Because I think for a giant killer, she can't swim, and like she gets washed up on the beach and stuff. And it is a total mind fuck of an experience for a young child to have to like be afraid of death and then almost like have your life flash before your eyes and then come back better from it. So like this book is just I've never really
Laying it
thought,
thick.
I was gonna say I've never really thought about this book in like such a depth. I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go with this book just so we can be like fancy, like not knowing about the movie coming out. I was like, I Kill Giants. It's a sad story. It's got some layers to it. We can have like a deep discussion about this. And now that I'm like, holy shit, this book is an onion. There's layers on top of layers. Because like, she goes missing, jumping into the ocean because she sees a giant out there, and like, they show you panels of like what the town looks like after the storm comes through, and it is just decimated, which we see here like on a
The thing is,
6 year cycle.
After when they show that panel, Fred just had it in his lap. It like living in the Northeast. I don't think I've ever seen a nor'easter that, because that's what they call it. They're like a freak nor'easter that came out of nowhere. I don't think I've ever seen them leave like carved crevices into the land. And I mean, like,
And
I
again,
said,
that's one of the things that like it worked so well in a
Like,
comic
did
book.
she fight
where
the
it's-
giant or
Yeah.
you know? We don't know.
And
They
where
didn't- they leave it open.
super stylized like that, if it was just the hurricane, that's something you buy in a very hyper stylized comic book like that, which is one of the problems I think the film is going to run into. Where just, I mean, it's not a problem the film would have had to run into, but everything in the trailer just looks so like tangible and realistic that that's the one thing. Like, it seems like it's hitting the story beats well enough, but stylistically it doesn't have this, you know, it's not as abstract in style as the comic book, and it's just kind of face value. Here's what you're looking at.
I mean, like, that one scene in the trailer, I don't remember it too well, but I think there's one scene where you see, like, one of the giants, but it's a smaller one behind, like, a train or something in the forest. Like, I really liked that shot. I was like, all right. It's kind of, they definitely were, like, they tried to stick with the way the giants look in the book for the movie. I was like, all right. I mean, I don't remember there being something like that in the book, but they're gonna have to be adaptations and changes for a film, because... Yeah. I mean, as the book is now, it'd be either a very short film or a very boring film. They have to put some stuff in the middle. Like, I imagine in the film, she'll probably fight a smaller giant at some point in the
there's
movie.
going to be more action stuff spacing it out.
And maybe, like, we see her taking on this giant, and then maybe the friend character she makes, like, I could see them come into after the battle with the giant, and, like, maybe she doesn't see any like proof of a giant being there, but in Barbara's mind, like, she fought and killed one giant, or maybe like the bully is going to take
The form of a giant.
the form of a giant for Barbara to beat.
I mean,
Because she does beat that. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that poor bully.
my thing with this movie, like after watching the trailer, is I watched the trailer and I was like, this trailer to me is how I depicted the book before I read the book.
Mm-hmm.
So my concern is they're going to go with what I thought I wanted the book to be and not what the book actually is. Like, I know they're going to do all the plot twists and stuff from the book, but for how, like, everybody's mentioning how simple it is, how short it is. Like, it's true. Like, this book is almost, you could give this book to someone in their early teenage years to, like, help them understand, I think.
Yeah.
And, like, kudos to comic books for being able to be used as a form of therapy. Like, somebody hand this to Bruce Wayne, please. But, like...
But why? They only lose Batman.
Yeah. Oof. The only movie...
Can you imagine how exciting Batman comics would be if it was just Batman going like board meeting to board meeting?
Yeah,
I'm going to donate money to an orphanage.
Someone once
today.
pointed out that Batman is just
Gotham.
is just a man with a small child continuously crying trapped inside his body.
Yeah.
But like, this book is like a coping mechanism.
Methanism.
Methanism.
Excuse me.
We do meth on this channel.
We should. It would be so much better.
Jesus. I'm fine with the booze,
That was
honestly.
It was a long day. But so
My baby blue.
You just don't sing.
what is it? This
I don't
book.
have that much beer in me.
This book is good. I'm not trying to like close out the show or anything, but
Yeah.
like I'm afraid the movie might miss the point of what the book aimed to do, in the hopes that it can capitalize on the action that would draw in a larger audience.
I think it's gonna hit the mark, maybe not as well.
Yeah.
But I think like when you walk away from the movie, you're like, all right, they hit the mark, but
Yeah.
I think they're gonna lose some elements that the comic book did so well.
They will hit the mark as in they will have included the scenes. I don't think they'll hit the mark as in evoking the emotions that I want to experience when seeing the movie. Because like, I'm not a person that goes to the movies to feel emotions. I usually go to watch dumb superhero flicks. But like, I watched a movie a couple weeks ago that actually made me tear up. And
The
I'm
Last Jedi, yeah, me too.
no, that was me falling asleep after pulling 24 hours before going to see it. But no, Wolf Children, the animated movie, made me tear up a little bit, and I kind of want to get that feeling from this movie, based off of this book when it comes out. Because like this book didn't make me tear up, but like it is rare.
No, see, it did for me.
It is rare for media to make me feel any sort of way, both negatively and then positively at the same time. Usually I read comics to be like, oh, that was awesome, that was cool, that was badass, or like, oh, that's a deep and introspective way to look at the world. I don't read them to be like, oh, that's both heartbreaking and heartwarming. Like, I don't involve myself with that sort of media just based off of my personal tastes. I feel like I should more. It's just hard to find it in a world that throws badass, awesome moments at you. But, like, this book nailed it. I don't get why more people can't nail it.
I don't know, it's hard to, I mean, sometimes I feel like it's hard to nail an emotional moment. Because, like, some movies try to pull it off, and it's like, it might get some people, but it's not going to get everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone who usually gets, like, emotional at movies or other forms of media. Like, I remember books I've never really connected with, except for, like, Catcher in the Rye. I really liked that book. It connected with me so well. Because, like, at the time I was reading it, you know, I was high school, about to graduate, and, like, I had identified with the character Holden so well, because it's like, he doesn't know what to do with his life, he's got all this shit in front of him, his parents don't, like, you know, he's got this thing to live up to that he's not living up to, and he's afraid, like, it's a great book, but, like, with movies, I can't think of many movies I've identified with. I mean, I really liked Swiss Army Man, that just might be because it's so outrageous and great. But this is probably one of the comics I've ever read that have connected with me. I haven't read too much. I mean, a lot of dumb superhero shit is what I read and other stuff like that. But this was great.
So that's what this podcast is for.
Dumb superhero shit. That's the name.
Yeah.
To get beyond the dumb superhero shit and see some more.
Yeah. I mean...
And with some dumb superhero shit thrown in.
Oh, yeah, because, like, again, being the first episode, we're not going to stick to a script or anything. I've compiled the list mostly, but I've taken suggestions for other books to do. We're gonna try to do this once a month. Certain occasions maybe.
Our January episode was great.
Oh man, great first episode.
This was supposed to be January, but it kept getting pushed, and now we're in February.
Oh, I thought I was like missing something. I was like, what?
John,
Remember that time we were super drunk and we recorded a January one on The Walking Dead?
Oh,
John,
God.
your pilot didn't do so well. That's why I brought you in. But
I mean, hey.
But we're gonna do more deep books, more
On The Walking Dead.
more books that have personal connections. Some of us, I myself read a good deal. I know Amanda, you read a decent amount.
Mm-hmm.
Tom reads whatever garbage we throw at him.
I mean, I read a lot of books, and then I take comic suggestions from you guys.
Yeah, and then
I mean, Fred throws the garbage at me.
John's
Garbage in quotes, but I just like put it on the shelf, and I'm like, I have something to put on this shelf now. Like, I have 2 shelves in my room that are just for the comic books.
Yeah,
and
I
I'm
have
like,
2 piles of Fred comics in my house that I haven't gotten
Yeah.
around to yet.
And it's like every time like someone comes on and they're like, where'd all these comic books come from? And I'm like,
This weird kid at Shaw's.
I don't know. I don't even pay for them. One day my mom was like, how much money do you think Fred has given you in comic books? I'm like, I don't want to think about it. All right, I don't.
Yeah, no, I have to have a couple $100.
And then I went into
sitting
my
in
room
house.
and I was like, all right, so they're about $20 a piece. I'm like, 20, 40, 60, 81, 20, 40, 60, 82, 20, 40, 60. I was like, oh God, I'm going to stop right here.
Yeah, just imagine what my room looks
I
like.
can only fucking imagine.
I've seen your room. I know what it looks like.
Plus my car.
Yeah, your car is worse than your room as far as comics go.
Fred could open like a traveling comic book store. A traveling comic book liquor store. That's
And candles. He had a lot of candles in his car around Christmas.
That's Fred's Ford Explorer in a nutshell.
Those
Fucking
candles came in handy when we lost power during a storm a couple months back.
Oh, that was awful. I didn't have candles, so I used a lightsaber.
I didn't lose them. I didn't lose
Lucky
power.
you. I was out for fucking like 28 hours. You know how hard it is to
Yes.
be my age, a millennial, and not have power for 28 hours?
Yes.
Well, try fighting giants.
Yeah.
Someone half your age.
That was my giant.
Wi-Fi is my
I
giant.
walked down on my front lawn with the lightsaber in hand and was like, come on, you. I lost.
But no, we got books coming up that so far are mostly my list that I put together, and everybody's been like, oh yeah, no, that sounds good. But I know there are definitely others on the list that people want to throw in. I have a personal connection deeper than I Kill Giants coming up in a couple of months when we get to it that I'm super excited to do. Joking.
Don't joke.
But yeah, I don't know what else. I know we've already passed at least probably close to a half hour. We haven't gotten the second beep yet, but
Yeah, we haven't gotten the second beep.
we got the first beep.
I was going to say, I silenced the alarm, but I didn't.
No, you didn't, which is good.
I'm sorry, all right?
Apropos
Listen,
of that one time we
I
talked
called
about Doctor
we
Strange.
called Verizon and we're like, hey, listen, we got this box in our house you guys put here, and it beeps every 15 minutes. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's going to do that. We need a new battery. We're like, can we get a new battery? And they're like, yeah, it's going to be like
we did hit that.
$75. And I was like, well, we'll just put up with the beeping, thank you.
So, I don't know. I think we should keep this one short, seeing how we don't know
Yeah.
what we're doing,
Yeah, I mean,
That works for me.
short and sweet.
and then we can keep drinking and doing whatever.
So also, if you guys have any suggestions for comics,
comics.
just
Drop them in the comments.
Yeah.
Ooh, can't wait to watch Amanda hit Tom after we're done.
I mean, not to defend Tom, but she said comments, and Tom had a comment.
Yeah. I gave a
No,
comment.
no, John, you stop.
Like I said, I'm not defending Tom, but technically.
And hopefully we'll also have others on the show. I know one of my friends from school. He doesn't read comics as much as we do, but he does have a few favorites, and one of them I did put on the list. So hopefully he'll be able to get around and talk to that.
No, I don't like meeting new people.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, it's a shame. I don't know how I got in this friend group at all whatsoever.
I mean, we just, well, what do you call it? I was at Shaw's, and then they moved this kid from front end into grocery, and I was like, the fuck is this kid doing? He didn't know what he's doing. And then he, like, surpassed me, took my job, and has a full-time job, and now I'm still like, all right, well, Fred's really cool, actually, so I'll let it slide this time. But if they move another person from another department into mine, it's not happening.
That'll be your next giant, John.
Yeah, my next giant will be the next time they put someone from another department in my department. I was gonna, like, kill Fred with my giant hammer, but I was like, nah.
Except he didn't have the Power Jack license yet until I got it for him.
Yeah, you were like, John wants his Power Jack license, and the manager was like, all right, cool. And then Fred wrote down the answers to the OSHA certified test I had to take. Fred gave me all the answers to. I was like, these are the answers. I was like, thanks. Because what are safety reasons if I don't have to learn shit? It's great.
All right, well, is that?
I think that's it.
Sign us off, Fred.
Oh, I don't know how.
Sign us off,
Thank
Amanda.
you, thank you for listening. I have no clue what channel this is gonna go on, so I can't tell you what to subscribe
Fred,
to.
what channel is this going on?
I don't know. I've never used a channel before.
So you're starting up a channel for this.
Am I starting a channel for this?
Yeah,
This
sure.
is your podcast.
What? Tom, you do all the internet stuff.
This is
Gonna
your
say you're
podcast.
doing all the editing, so.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to edit here. I'm cutting off the beginning where we messed up.
And this,
I mean,
apparently.
No,
You
this
know,
part is
just-
gold.
Yeah,
Wherever
is
this
staying.
ends up, subscribe. Maybe monthly. I can't speak. I'm like just pulling this out of my ass.
Fred wants to do monthly,
Yeah,
so let's say monthly.
Our plan was monthly.
We're starting late this year.
We're starting late. That's only because of work and other obligations. We're all
Working people.
adults
Yeah.
that read comic books. For
Nothing
fun.
wrong with that.
No, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Just as a preview, which we're also going to discuss after this podcast ends, next month, or later this month, just to tie in with the theme of Valentine's Day,
Ugh.
another image book.
Yeah, Valentine's Day is gross.
Yeah, it's
Hi,
awful.
Amanda.
Oh. Let Fred talk.
Good thing we're all single in this room. Or soon. To
Wait,
be.
what?
Or soon to be.
I'm sorry.
Oh, by the way.
Another image book called Prince of Cats. So if you guys want to read it or look into it before we discuss it,
I'm allergic.
yeah.
To princes?
Yeah.
You must have had a hard time with the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
he's
they
dead.
brought him out, and I was like, oh god, no.
Hush you. But no, we're hopefully gonna do Prince of Cats, and then for the month of March, a possible Batman title to get back into that stupid superhero stuff.
Gross.
Yeah,
I like Batman.
I am Batman. Actually, speaking of that, I have to go buy some time after this. But
And it's not more beer.
fucking might be.
I've already slammed 2. It's fucking 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. I've had 2 beers.
And
And
that
the
was
second
beat. We're waiting for the beat. That's all we're
That
doing.
was half an hour.
All right, well,
Alright.
subscribe to whatever channel you're finding this video on, and stay tuned for the next one.
Possibility of a Twitter handle? We don't know.